A woman in a white linen jacket chose one man from row 14, seat 6, and the entire demonstration ended 6 seconds later. Before that afternoon, 217 volunteers had stepped onto the Bangkok Arena floor in 11 months. None had lasted longer than 9.4 seconds against her chosen enforcer. The man she pointed to did not look like a fighter. He was 138 pounds in civilian clothes, reading a folded program with both feet flat on the concrete. What happened next took 6 seconds. Exactly 6. People in the upper seats kept repeating that number for 31 years because the outcome was plain from the beginning. The method was not. Bangkok Arena stood on Rama 4 Road on August 18, 1969, under a white heat that made the city look powdered in ash. At 2:43 in the afternoon, the concrete outside the building held the sun like a second surface. Taxis coughed at the curb. Motorbikes moved through exhaust haze. A food cart 50 yards from the entrance kept sending up the smell of fish sauce, singed garlic, and old cooking oil. Inside the arena, that street smell mixed with canvas dust, floor polish, wet cotton, and the faint leather odor rising from seats that had held too many bodies through too many afternoons. The building had been designed for crowds, but not for comfort. The ceiling hung high and gray, webbed with steel beams and tired electric fans that pushed hot air downward rather than away. Their blades made a loose chopping sound overhead, not loud, persistent. The specific dry mechanical sound of something that had worked too long and been cleaned too little. Fluorescent tubes buzzed above the east corridor. Somewhere below the seating bowl, a metal door kept opening and closing, with a hollow slap that arrived every 40 or 50 seconds. The noise bounced up through the concrete ribs of the place and settled into people without asking permission. At floor level, the ring platform had been set under a rectangle of hard light, blue canvas, red corner pads, white rope bright enough to hurt the eyes where the sun from the upper windows touched it. Dust floated there, visible only when it crossed the beam. The judge's table sat 12 feet from the apron, covered in green felt darkened by elbow marks. 3 water glasses were already sweating onto coasters. A microphone cable lay in a curve on the floor like something dropped and forgotten. Nothing in the arrangement looked dramatic, which is to say, everything about it felt prepared. The first rows filled early. Men in short-sleeved shirts used folded newspapers against their necks. Women fanned themselves with program sheets stamped in red ink. Teenagers leaned over the rails, smelling of talcum powder and the sweet starch of pressed cotton. Vendors moved the aisles with glass bottles of orange soda packed in chipped ice. Every few minutes you could hear bottle caps snapping loose. Then the low fizz. Then someone swallowing too fast. The arena had its own temperature, different from the street. Not cooler, contained. The heat did not move through the room. It sat on shoulders, it gathered behind knees. It made collars cling, and palms damp and the back of every seat feel slightly alive. At 2:51, the announcer tested the microphone once. The speaker cracked, whined, then settled. Several pigeons that had somehow found their way into the rafters fluttered in a brief panic and then went still again. A child in Section C began crying for no clear reason. The crying stopped just as suddenly. The building returned to its layered noises, fans, shoes on steps, a cough, the ice vendor's bell, distant traffic pushing past the arena walls as if none of this mattered. Outside, Bangkok kept moving under the sun. Buses breathed. At intersections, a man repaired a bicycle chain on the sidewalk. Somewhere across the road, cut fruit was being salted in paper cones. There was one detail, small enough to miss, that bent the afternoon slightly out of shape. On the center table near the ring steps, beside the brass bell and the stack of registration cards, sat a white lacquer selection box with a narrow slit at the top. Its paint was fresh enough to smell faintly chemical beneath the leather and dust. Next to it rested 24 folded paper slips. The box did not belong to ordinary exhibitions. People noticed it without understanding why they noticed it. Eyes returned to it, then away, then back again. At 2:56, the house lights over the west side dimmed by 1 degree. Not darkness, just less certainty. The fan noise seemed louder after that. The crowd settled into itself. Programs stopped fluttering. Ice stopped clinking. The arena did not make a sound for 3 full seconds. Then, from the service corridor. Under Section E, something changed in the air before anyone saw who was coming. A door opened. Cooler hallway air moved across the floor, and the room, without being told, turned toward it. He entered without announcement at 2:59 in the afternoon. No music, no introduction. Just the sound of a door opening under Section E, and a shift in the air that reached the ring before he did. You see him first as movement between shoulders, then as a shape that blocks light, then as a man, 6 feet 4 inches tall, 248 pounds, 31 years old. Shoulders that press fabric, outward instead of filling it, neck thick enough that the collar does not sit flat. Forearms marked with old training lines, thin white scars that run parallel and clean. The specific controlled posture of someone who has spent years being watched. Not tense, not relaxed. Occupied. His name is Somchai Virek, former Royal Thai. Army Combatives Instructor. 8 years in service. 3 tours assigned to training units where repetition replaces doubt. Which is to say, he believes in outcomes that can be measured and repeated under pressure. He believes that the body can be made to answer correctly every time if the question is asked the right way. He steps onto the concrete floor and the sound changes. Shoes on cement become a single rhythm. Each step lands with a low, contained weight that you feel through the soles of your feet rather than here. The canvas platform is still 10 yards away, but the space between him and it seems to shorten with each step. People in the first row adjust without thinking. A man pulls, his knees back. A woman lifts her handbag off the floor and holds it to her chest. The smell around him is not sweat. Not yet. It is liniment. Sharp, medicinal, with a camphor edge that cuts through the arena's mix of leather and dust. There is also the faint scent of soap, recent, efficient. No ornament, no hesitation. He reaches the ring steps, does not look at the crowd, does not look at the judges. He places his right hand on the middle rope and tests it once. The rope gives 2 inches, comes back. He nods once to no one in particular and climbs through. Inside the ropes, the light hardens. The blue canvas reflects up into his face, flattening. Color. His eyes move once around the room, not searching, counting. He walks to the center. Stops. There is a ritual here. People who have seen it before know to watch his hands. On the judge's table sits a wooden baton, 30 inches long, used earlier for a balance demonstration. He reaches over the rope, takes it, and brings it to the center. Holds it horizontally with both hands, elbows slightly bent, breath even. The arena quiets in layers. First the vendors, then the upper rows, then the small movements that make a room feel alive. The fans continue their chopping overhead. The distant traffic continues beyond the walls. Inside, attention narrows. He tightens his grip. The wood bends first. Not much. A suggestion. Then more. Fibers begin to separate with a soft tearing sound that is not loud, but carries because everything else has stopped. The baton gives way in the middle with a dry crack. 2 pieces. Clean. He drops them at his feet. They land without ceremony. No words. The record is not written on the wall. It is spoken quietly from one person to another, passed across seats like something you should not repeat too loudly. 217 volunteers. 11 months. 15 visiting cities, including Chiang Mai, Phuket, and Ayutthaya. Average survival, 4.7 seconds. Longest, 9.4 seconds. Recorded on June 2, 1969, at 5:18 in the evening by a provincial boxing champion named Ratanakorn Suti. Ratanakorn had lasted 9 seconds because he stepped backward instead of forward. At 9.4, his heel met the rope. At 9.5, his balance left him. At 9.6, he was on the canvas, breath gone, eyes open, understanding late. Somchai's method is consistent. He does not chase. He reduces space. He does not strike wide. He enters along the shortest line available. His first contact is not to injure. It is to remove options, which is to say, He takes away the next move before it exists. The institution that built him does not celebrate aggression. It refines efficiency. In the training yard, mistakes are corrected immediately. In the field, mistakes are not repeated. Over time, this produces a particular psychology, not anger, not cruelty, a clean belief that problems can be solved by removing variables. The person in front of him is not an enemy. It is a variable. At 3:03, the woman in the white linen jacket steps to the microphone, mid-30s, hair tied back, voice measured and practiced. "The selection is random," she says. "No preparation, no rehearsal." Her words move across the room and settle. The white lacquer box on the table waits. Somchai stands in the center of the ring, arms at his sides, not a stance. A readiness that does not announce itself. His breathing does not change. His eyes do not move. The arena belongs to him now, not by declaration, by agreement. No one speaks for 4 full seconds. Then the first slip of paper is drawn. The first name is called at 3:05 in the afternoon. A man from Section B, Seat 12. He stands too quickly, knocking his knee against the metal row in front of him. The sound rings out sharper than it should. He walks down the aisle with the careful steps of someone aware of being watched. The crowd follows him with their eyes. You can hear the shift in breathing around you. You can smell it too now. Sweat beginning to rise under pressed cotton, a sour note entering the air. He climbs into the ring. The light catches his face and drains it. He tries to stand the way he has seen fighters stand. It does not stay. Somchai moves once. Not fast, not slow, direct. The exchange is brief, too brief to hold on to. At 3:05 and 9 seconds, the man is on the canvas, air gone, eyes open, understanding arriving after the fact. 2 attendants step in, efficient, practiced. They help him down the steps. The room exhales in a low, shared release. The second name follows, then the third. Each time the same pattern holds. Movement, contact, the removal of options. Times are called quietly at the table. 4.1 seconds, 3.8, 5.2. The numbers settle over the room like a measurement everyone can feel but no one can change. By 3:18, 11. Names have been drawn. 11 bodies have entered the light and left it altered in small, precise ways. The floor around the ring holds a new smell now. Canvas warmed by skin, a faint copper trace. Liniment still cutting through everything with its sharp edge. The fans continue their work overhead, pushing heat downward. The pigeons in the rafters remain still. The white lacquer box waits. The woman in the white jacket reaches in again. Her fingers move through the slips with the same practiced neutrality. She lifts one, unfolds it. Looks once to confirm. Row 14, she says. Seat 6. There is a pause as the words travel. You can feel them moving across the rows, finding their place. Row 14 sits midway up the west side, where the light is less certain and the air holds a little more dust. Seat 6 is occupied by a man who has not stood yet today. He has been there since before the doors opened, a folded program in his hands, the paper creased exactly in half. He is 138 pounds, 5 feet 7 inches, civilian clothes, dark slacks, a light shirt, sleeves rolled once at the forearm, no jacket, no visible preparation. His shoes are clean but not new. His posture is not a posture. Feet flat, back against the seat. The body available for whatever the next moment requires. He does not look up immediately when his seat number is called. He finishes the line he is reading. The small, private completion of something that has nothing to do with the room. Then he folds the program again, precisely along the existing crease. He places it on the empty seat to his left. He stands. From the upper rows, the difference in size becomes clear in a way that is not dramatic but exact. The distance between him and the ring is measured in steps that do not hurry. 18 inches to the left to clear a knee. 3 steps. Down. A hand briefly touching the rail. The metal is warm. You can see it in the way his fingers release it without pause. A man in row 15 grips his armrest and says nothing. His knuckles turn pale against the plastic. He has seen something like this before. Not here. Not in this room. Somewhere else. He does not look away. The aisle smells of soda and melted ice. A bottle cap sticks briefly to the sole of the man's shoe as he passes. It releases with a soft, wet sound. The crowd's noise does not rise. It narrows. Conversations stop in the middle of words. The arena does not make a sound for 5 full seconds. At the base of the ring steps, he pauses. Not for effect. To remove his watch. A simple metal band. He turns it once in his fingers, then places it on the judge's table beside the white box. The watch face catches the light. 3:21 in the afternoon. He climbs the steps, one hand on the rope. The rope gives 2 inches, comes back. The same rope that gave to Somchai, the same return. Inside the ropes, the light is harder. It defines edges. It removes softness. The blue canvas reflects upward. Dust crosses the beam in slow, visible lines. Somchai turns his head once, the smallest acknowledgement of a new variable entering the space. His eyes move over the man in front of him and register what is there. 138 pounds. No stance, no guard, no visible tension. The absence of something expected, arms at his sides, shoulders level, expression unchanged, calm and direct, and carrying nothing that is not necessary. The woman in the white jacket steps back from the microphone. The judges at the table lean, forward by a fraction. The green felt darkens under their hands. "Name?" she asks, without looking up from her list. There is a moment where the room holds the question. "Lee," he says. No first name, no explanation. The man in row 15 tightens, his grip once more. He does not speak. 2 worlds stand in the same rectangle of light, one built on reduction, one built on availability. The distance between them is 8 feet, exactly 8. No one moves. At 3:22 in the afternoon, the distance remains 8 feet. The light over the ring holds steady, a white rectangle that cuts the rest of the arena into softer gray. The fans continue their slow chopping overhead. You can hear the faint scrape of a chair leg somewhere high in the stands. Then nothing. The smell on the canvas has thickened. Liniment, warmed cotton, and the first sharp trace of breath forced. Out too quickly in earlier rounds, Somchai does not circle. He reduces, one step forward, measured. The heel touches first, then the rest of the foot. The canvas dips a fraction under his weight and returns. You feel it through the boards even from the first row. The specific grounded movement of someone who has practiced the same approach in the same order for years. Not fast, direct. The man in front of him, Lee, does not mirror the step. He does not step back. He does not raise his hands. Arms remain at his sides, shoulders level. Head slightly angled as if listening to something the rest of the room cannot hear. His breathing is not visible. The distance closes to 6 feet. Somchai's eyes settle on the center line of the body in front of him. Sternum. Solar plexus. The place where breath can be interrupted and options collapse. His left foot adjusts 2 inches inward. A habit from training grounds where angles are corrected until they are no longer choices. His right hand lifts, not a strike yet. A test of space, a measure of reach. The crowd leans without knowing it is leaning. Programs stop moving. Ice stops clinking. The child who cried earlier has fallen asleep against a shoulder. The arena does not make a sound for 4 full seconds. Lee speaks once. "I respect you. Please step back." 8 words would have been too many. He uses 7. The tone is even, not loud, not soft. It does not travel far, but it lands exactly where it needs to. Somchai hears it. The judges hear it. The man in row 15 hears it and lowers his head by a fraction, as if confirming something he already suspected. Somchai does not step back. His logic does not allow for it. The demonstration is built on consistency, on removing variables, on proving that the method works regardless of who stands across from him. The request is not an insult, it is a variable. And variables are reduced. He closes to 4 feet. Thigh. Light catches the edge of his forearm. The small scars there appear and disappear as his arm moves. His weight shifts forward by a degree that is difficult to see, but easy to feel if you are close enough. The canvas registers it, the rope behind. Him holds steady. Lee's posture does not change, arms still at his sides. No guard, no visible preparation. The body available for whatever the next moment requires. A bead of sweat runs down the back of a man's neck in the second row and disappears into his collar. He does not wipe it. He does not move. Somchai's right shoulder rotates forward by a fraction, the beginning of a line. His left foot anchors. The space is now 3 feet. Lee speaks again. This is your last chance. 6 words. Final. Without emphasis. The woman in the white jacket looks up from her list for the first time. Her eyes move between the 2 men and then to the judge's table. No one signals to stop. This is still the demonstration. The rules have not changed, which is to say, the rules will not change. Somchai's breathing lowers, not faster, lower, the specific adjustment of someone entering execution. His right hand lifts to chest height, elbow in, wrist aligned. The path from his shoulder to Lee's center line is clear. Shortest distance, fewest variables. The distance closes to 2 feet. In the upper rows, someone drops a glass bottle. It rolls once under a seat and stops. The sound does not carry. It is absorbed by the room. The man in row 15 presses his thumb into the armrest until it leaves a pale mark. He says nothing. He does not look away. Somchai's left hand moves to clear the line, a small outward motion, practiced, efficient. His right foot slides half an inch to stabilize. The canvas tightens under him. The rope behind Lee is 6 feet away. There is space to move, space that has not helped anyone yet. Lee remains where he is, no stance, no guard, no signal. The arena holds its breath. 1 second, 2, 3. Somchai commits. At 3:22 and 11 seconds, Somchai's right shoulder completes its rotation. His right hand travels forward along a direct line toward Lee's sternum, elbow in, palm vertical, wrist aligned. The motion is efficient, no excess. The left hand clears outward by 3 inches to remove obstruction. His weight shifts from back foot to front foot in a controlled transfer, approximately 70% forward. The canvas dips and returns under the change. Previous challengers had chosen one of 3 options. They stepped backward, which placed them on the rope in under 2 seconds. They raised a guard, which slowed their own response by a fraction that could not be recovered. They attempted to strike first, which extended their line and gave Somchai a shorter one to take. No one had chosen a 4th. Lee does not step back. He does not raise a guard. He does not strike first. He removes the line. At the moment Somchai's hand crosses the midpoint, 18 inches from contact, Lee shifts his lead foot 2 inches to the left. Not a step, a placement. His torso turns by a degree that changes the angle of the incoming line without moving his center away from it. His right forearm lifts along a short arc, intercepting Somchai's wrist at a point 3 inches above the joint. The contact is light, redirective, not a block. The line that was straight becomes empty. In the same fraction, Lee's left hand travels forward from his side. No chamber, no visible preparation. The path is the shortest available from where it already was. The distance from his fist to Somchai's chest is measured in inches that do not announce themselves. The contact is precise, not a swing, a placement. The knuckles meet the sternum at a point slightly left of center. Time to the moment Somchai's weight is fully committed forward. The effect is immediate and specific. Breath is interrupted before it can be held. The diaphragm contracts involuntarily. The body's response precedes any decision to resist. Somchai's forward momentum continues for a fraction of a second without support. His feet do not leave the canvas. They do not need to. The structure that held his movement collapses from within the line he created. His right knee bends first, then the left. The sequence is not dramatic. It is mechanical, 0.8 seconds. Lee's right hand releases the redirected wrist without holding. His left hand returns along the same path it traveled, arriving back at his side before the room can register the exchange. His feet are placed where they were, with a difference of 2 inches that no one measures but everyone feels. Somchai's body continues its response. At 1.6 seconds, his upper body folds forward by a degree that indicates loss of breath rather than loss of balance. His hands move inward, not outward, protective, not offensive. At 2.3 seconds, his right foot attempts to re-anchor. It does not find purchase in time. At 3.1 seconds, both knees meet the canvas. The sound is soft, contained. At 3.8 seconds, his head lowers, not struck, not forced. The body's decision to reduce height and protect the center. At 4.4 seconds, his hands press against the canvas as if to push himself back into structure. The attempt is immediate. The result is not. At 5.2 seconds, the breath he tried to hold leaves him in a single, involuntary release. The sound is brief and final. At 6.0 seconds, the sequence is complete. Lee stands where he was, arms at his sides, shoulders level, expression unchanged, calm and direct and carrying nothing that is not necessary. The blue canvas reflects up into his face without altering it. Dust crosses the light between them in slow lines, visible again now that nothing is moving. The option nobody tried had not required speed beyond what was present. It required removal rather than addition, which is to say, there was no contest to win. There was a line to empty. For 4 full seconds, the arena does not make a sound. Then the fans return. The distant traffic returns. A bottle cap rolls once under a seat and stops. Someone inhales sharply and then covers their mouth as if the sound had been too loud. Somchai remains on his knees, hands on the canvas, eyes open. Not unconscious, not confused. The specific stillness of someone whose body has answered a question before his mind can frame it. 2 attendants step toward the ropes and then stop. They do not enter. They do not need to. Lee does not look at the judge's table. He does not look at the crowd. His gaze remains forward for a moment longer, then lowers by a fraction, as if returning to the same place it was before the line appeared. The sequence had taken 6 seconds. The silence that followed takes 4 more. At 3:22 and 21 seconds, sound returns to the room in pieces. First the fans, then a chair leg against concrete, then breath, many people taking it at once, as if permission had been restored. The smell in the arena changes again. The sharpness of liniment remains, but it is now mixed with something quieter. Cooling canvas, damp cotton, the faint metallic trace of effort that has already ended. Somchai does not stand immediately. He stays on both knees, hands still placed. On the blue surface, fingers spread as if feeling for something that has moved. His back rises and falls once, then again. The breath comes back in measured attempts, each one more complete than the last. His head lifts by degrees, not forced. Chosen. He looks at the point where contact was made, not at Lee, at the exact place on his own sternum where the interruption occurred. The location is precise. The understanding is immediate. He shifts 1 foot under him, tests it. The canvas holds. He stands without assistance at 3:23 and 02 seconds. There is no anger in the movement, no appeal to the room. The specific contained posture of someone who has recognized a correction. His eyes move to Lee. For a moment, no longer than it takes to count to 2, he studies what is in front of him. Not size, not posture. The absence of unnecessary motion. The line that had been empty before he could take it. He nods once. It is small. It is complete. On the judge's table, the woman in the white linen jacket places her hand flat on the green felt to steady it, though it does not need steadying. She leans toward the microphone. Her voice, when it comes, is lower than before. Time recorded, she says. 6 seconds. Exactly 6. She does not add anything else. An older man at the end of the table, thin, gray suit, collar slightly frayed, writes the number down with a fountain pen that scratches faintly against the paper. He has been present for all 217 attempts. He has recorded every time. He pauses once after writing the 6, as if deciding whether to underline it. He does not. He places the pen beside the paper and looks up at Lee with a kind of quiet attention that does not ask for acknowledgement. In the upper rows, the man in row 15 releases his grip on the armrest. The pale marks fade from his thumb. He leans back and closes his eyes for a moment, not from relief, but from recognition. He will tell this differently from others. Not louder, more exact. A woman in seat 5 stands and leaves without looking back. Her sandals make a soft, steady sound on the concrete steps. The world outside continues. Through the open doors, you can see the white light of the afternoon and the slow movement of traffic beyond. A bus exhales at the curb. A vendor calls out the price of fruit. None of it has changed. Inside the ropes, Lee steps back once, not away from Somchai, away from the center. He turns toward the judge's table and reaches for the watch he placed there at 3:21. He lifts it, wipes a small bead of condensation from the glass with his thumb, and fastens it around his wrist. The metal clicks once. Clean and final. His movements are economical. No gesture remains after it is completed. Somchai watches him. There is no attempt to speak, no request for explanation. The correction has already been delivered in a language both men understand. Daikshi. Woman in the white jacket lowers the microphone. The older man in the gray suit stands not fully but enough to acknowledge what has occurred. Sir, he says, addressing Lee without raising his voice. Thank you for your participation. Lee inclines his head by a fraction. No more. He turns and walks to the ropes. One hand touches the top line. It gives 2 inches, comes back. He steps through, descends the 3 wooden steps, and returns to the concrete floor with the same measured pace he used to arrive. 18 inches to the right to clear a chair, 3 steps down the aisle, the bottle cap that had stuck to his shoe earlier remains under a seat. He does not notice it. Or if he does not change his path. He reaches row 14, seat 6. The folded program is where he left it. He picks it up, opens it to the exact crease, and sits, feet flat, back against the seat. The body returns to availability. The line, that was empty, remains empty. Around him, the arena reorganizes itself. Voices return in low layers. People speak in numbers. 6 seconds, someone says. Exactly 6. Others do not speak at all. They watch the ring as if expecting it to explain itself. It does not. In the ring, Somchai steps back to the center once more, not to demonstrate, to stand where he stood before. He looks at the space between where he was and where Lee had been. 8 feet, the same distance. It feels different now, not smaller, clearer. He bends once, picks up the 2 broken pieces of the wooden baton from earlier, and sets them on the corner pad. He does not attempt to break anything else. At 3:27, the next slip of paper is drawn. The process continues. Outside, the city remains indifferent. Heat presses down on Rama 4 Road. A bicycle chain is reattached. A taxi driver wipes his windshield with a cloth that leaves faint streaks in the glass. The smell of fish sauce and garlic rises again from the cart. 50 yards from the entrance, people pass by the arena without looking in. Inside, a number has settled into the room. He told this story for the rest of his life. The moment when a line he trusted was not there, and the answer arrived without force. The largest distance he had ever traveled in 6 seconds without going anywhere at all.